I just really appreciate all of you being here. My name is Elizabeth Strojan. I'm the Executive Director of the Louisville Metro Housing Authority. I know that everybody in this room has been our partner, some of you for a very, very long time, some of you just for a very long time, but I want you to know that we appreciate you. I want to tee up this meeting by acknowledging that everybody here in this room has a really hard job. Whether your sole focus is housing or housing is a means to how you serve your clients that are dealing with other obstacles and other barriers, all of us are here because housing is a key piece of what we do. And housing for low-income people, for people who are experiencing barriers, is always extremely difficult. I've described it before as like hand-to-hand combat. And that is when we are not facing existential threats and incredible uncertainty from DC. So like in good times, our jobs are hard. In times like this, it can feel impossible. But we are going to get through this together. And what we want to talk to you about today is how we are getting ourselves together, how we are preparing to better serve the people that we are all here to serve. So if we can go to the next slide, I'll tell you what we're going to cover. We're going to introduce the Housing Choice Voucher team, because although many of you know LMHA and you might know some of us, you've probably had an opportunity to interact with the new folks here. We have a new suite of people here that have been brought in to clean up the Section 8 department and to set us up for the future. We'll go through some background on LMHA's special referral voucher program. That's why all of you are here. You are special referral voucher partners. Is that true? If not, it's okay, but it might not make as much sense if you're not a special referral voucher partner. We'll talk about the current status of the program, guiding principles going forward. I will share a scary slide on federal budget updates that I hope we can all link arms and ensure does not actually happen, but we will talk about what's being proposed from DC, and then we'll of course take questions. Okay, so that's what we're going to cover. So if we can just hold tight on the questions till the end, we'll get to that because your question might be covered during the presentation. Thank you, Angel. Okay. Meet the LMHA HCV leadership team. HCV stands for Housing Choice Voucher. That's technically what a Section 8 voucher is. So we call it HCV because that's what HUD prefers. So we like to go along with what HUD wants for the most part. Camille Robinson, this is Camille. Have you all met Camille? She has the hardest job at LMHA, and I'm including mine in that list. Camille is our Deputy Executive Director for Leased Housing. Camille just hit her 1-year anniversary at LMHA. Congratulations. Jonathan Coulter over here is our Director of Leased Housing. And Melinda Breslin is the newest member of our team. How long have you hit week 3? 1 month, all right. So Melinda is, she's still here every morning. I'm like, are you here? It's great. That's right. So this team that we've assembled has decades. I don't know if it adds up to a century yet, but these folks have decades of how, yeah, okay. Well, not a bit old, but we have about a century of housing experience here on the team. Okay, half a century. We'll go with that. Camille joined us most recently from LMHA, which is a group that works nationally to help Section 8 departments and other housing departments within housing agencies get it together. So Camille also used to work at LMHA as a social worker. Her background is in social work, so you probably feel that energy when you're talking to her, that kind but firm boundary energy. We really appreciate, and we were so thrilled to get Camille back. Jonathan Coulter was with the Kentucky Housing Corporation. I did almost get murdered by KHC for stealing him away, but we are so thrilled that he is here. He helped turn their program has been through some tumult as well in the last few years, so he came in to help us get through these times. And Melinda most recently was with HUD in the field office, and so as our colleagues at HUD are going through really a lot, professionally and personally, we will be a safe haven for folks that can bring us lots of skills that we need to help our agency get back on track. So we're so thrilled to welcome Melinda. She's also worked at the Kentucky Housing Corporation in the city's housing office as well. So this is our team. And I just want to acknowledge, I feel like we're a little bit out of the woods now, so now I'm more comfortable talking about this more broadly. But LMHA's Section 8 department in the past few years has been out of control. And that doesn't mean that we weren't doing good things or getting people vouchers so they can stabilize, but we were not keeping up with the demands of the program. And the program is very difficult to administer. We never have enough resources. We never have enough staff. We never have enough technology, et cetera, which I know all of you guys can relate to in the nonprofit sector. But we were way off track. We were behind by thousands of recertifications. We were not doing recertifications correctly. We were, I think, inadvertently in a quest to hold tenants and landlords harmless. We were really breaking a lot of rules. So if this team weren't here, and I'll include Angel in this too. This is Angel, who is our angel for Section 8. If we hadn't come in and kind of stopped what was happening, cleaned things up, I do not know that LMHA would be allowed to run our program. I firmly believe that HUD would have taken us over. And HUD does not do meetings with partners when you're in what's called receivership. So I know that what we have put in place is painful as we make these changes, but just know we are making these changes so that we can continue to run our program here. This team is here to make sure we're following the rules so we can continue to serve people. Okay, so our special referral voucher program, why you all are here. It started as a moving to work activity for LMHA in 2005. LMHA is designated as a moving to work demonstration agency from HUD. We were one of the original 30, we'll also share all these slides with you all after this. We were designated as one of the original 39 moving to work agencies by HUD in the 1990s. We received that designation because we were a high performer. And what that means is we have a lot more flexibility than most public housing authorities. So we are better situated to weather storms than most public housing authorities. That's because we can use our money more fungibly. We can request permission from HUD to do new innovative things, to waive certain regulations. That doesn't mean we can do whatever we want, but it means that we can innovate with programs like the Special Referral Voucher Program. We can put what's called a moving to work activity in our annual plan. Once it's approved by HUD, we can go ahead and implement something new. So we use that flexibility to create this Special Referral Voucher Program. And our moving to work coordinator, our chief policy officer, Sarah Galloway, is here in the room. You have all probably interacted with her in one way, shape, or form over the years. Thank you, Sarah. The program is designed to serve hard to reach populations in partnership with groups like yours. What's cool about the program is that it allows for you all to bring some wraparound services along with those vouchers, to bring some case management. And that's really why we created the program. We are not set up as a social service agency. We are trying to do more of that as our residents get more and more vulnerable, but that's really not what we're funded for. It's not what we're set up to do. So we have partnered with groups that bring that capacity. This program now serves 1,457 voucher holders with 52 partners. That's about 10 to 15% of our total voucher program. So this is a huge portion of what we're doing. The total cost of that is over $12 million a year. So sometimes people ask, well, what are you doing? What is LMHA doing for homelessness? And in addition to serving homeless people in our public housing units, many of you are helping us connect to homeless households to serve for a total cost of about $12 million a year. The vouchers are mostly tenant-based. So for the most part, a person is getting a voucher to rent a unit in the private market. We do have project-specific vouchers that have been used to help finance new construction of affordable and permanent supportive housing. In fact, in the last few years, we did a lot of those kinds of special referral vouchers that are tied to the unit. As the city got an influx of COVID recovery money, they were able to use our commitment letters for the vouchers to line up ARP funds, to line up low-income housing tax credits, to line up other kind of financing. And now we're getting to see the ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings for all of that. Okay, the current status. So as you all know, and much to your chagrin, the program was placed on pause in September of 2024. That was intended to be a brief pause as we reconciled our records. That work to reconcile our records continues. And I can't talk too much about this now, but we have called in some outside support to help us reconcile those records. So if you are contacted by someone from a different agency or a related agency to help reconcile records and line up the names that you have with the names that we have, please cooperate. That's going to be very helpful. We all know what happened in November, right? Our federal funding situation changed during that pause. So not long after the election, we started getting what's called a get ready letter from HUD. Sorry, okay. We started in our monthly monitoring calls with HUD getting warnings, might be too strong. No, it's not too strong of a word. Getting warnings that we were going to see a decrease in our budget and voucher authority. Also, since that time, we've learned that if we do not want to take vouchers away from people who got emergency housing vouchers during COVID, we would have to absorb those vouchers into our overall budget. So what we are doing right now is trying to not take vouchers away from people who currently have them. So we changed from a situation where how many vouchers do we have to issue new to how do we avoid taking vouchers away? Like I said, when I was talking about the moving to work flexibility that we have, we are right now, and we'll talk about this in more detail, we're running through the reserves that we have to keep vouchers in people's hands. And that's why we are better set up to weather the storm. Other housing authorities have reneged on commitments to fund project-based vouchers that help finance new buildings. In other housing authorities, not us, but other housing authorities have been told by HUD, you need to prepare for who you would take vouchers away from. So it is a very serious federal funding situation. So our special referral voucher program must remain paused until the records are reconciled and we receive the budget authority from Congress and HUD to issue new vouchers. Note that all the project-specific voucher commitments have been honored. But we're not making any more of those right now, and we're not releasing any new funding rounds for project-based vouchers either. I wish I had better news on that. Okay, do you want to talk about our financial situation?
So good morning, everyone. So the reason why I wanted to add this slide is because multiple partners have reached out to me to say, hey, but we're in a financial struggle. We're struggling financially. We need this funding. We need this housing. We need, things like that for our programs. One of the reasons why I wanted to show you all this is because this is currently our issue. This is, and I know that, trying to get you all to understand that $9 million in the hole, and that's just as of March. So this is coming from our reserves just to keep people in housing. So I was trying to, inform you all that, as much as we would love to continue to help fund your programs and to continue to keep people in your programs, this is where we are. So I wanted just to make sure that we put that out there. Also, too, our voucher count, let me see here. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see our voucher count. Yes. But that's just for the special programs, and that $12 million takes a bite out of that. But our overall program, we're over leased. Our overall total voucher program, we're over leased. We're over leased probably, but roughly 1,000 or so vouchers, and that was as of March.
So we are almost done with the bad news, I promise. I promise. And what we are planning to do, what we intend to do is to right-size our program, to right-size the number of vouchers with our budget through attrition. We do not have any plans to take vouchers away from units or people that currently have vouchers. So what happens is people come off of the program for various reasons. Maybe they got a better paying job and they no longer qualify. Maybe they moved out of the city. And that's, what we're doing is just not reissuing that voucher. So we think that through attrition and through some other changes in the program, we're going to go ahead and weather this storm. So I do want you to know that. But that is why we do not have yet a time frame for when we can restart issuing new vouchers. But I wanted to put this up here to let you know that our commitment to serving our vulnerable populations in Louisville, especially homeless Louisvillians, will not change. But we cannot help solve homelessness or the affordable housing crisis if LMHA is not a strong, well-run housing authority. If we're not here, or if we lose the flexibilities that we currently have, we cannot help you, and we cannot help the people you serve. So that requires making some necessary changes to longstanding programs. And that's why we're switching into the positive piece of why we're here. We want to talk to you and let you know we're not resting on our laurels. So we'll talk in a little bit about how we're pushing back against really detrimental proposals from DC. And I want you to know that we're working so that when we get more budget authority, we are ready to relaunch in a way that's going to help all of us. So we're not just waiting for that. We don't want to get to the day like, oh, we got more funding came through. What are we going to do with it? We are going to be ready for when that time comes. Okay, so our guiding principles for this program and all of our programs going forward is that we're going to track outcomes to ensure positive community impacts. You all are tracking a lot of this. We need to make sure that we're communicating with you so that we are understanding the impact that these special program vouchers have in our community. We're going to target appropriate services to recipients. This is increasingly important. This is happening all over the country. It's happening to our society. People are becoming more and more vulnerable. It is actually very rare that we see someone come into one of our programs now whose only barrier is economics. People are dealing with more severe mental illness, more instances of mental illness, just other barriers that they've got going on. It is increasingly important that all of us are able to help people connect to additional resources above and beyond housing. And frankly, that's probably always been true, and maybe it's just that we see it more now, we understand it more now. But I think we can all agree, nod your head if you agree that people seem to be struggling more now. We're all recovering from really a lot that's happened in society. We also want to ensure compliance with all HUD rules and regulations. So right now, LMHA is out of the woods, we believe, for receivership. We are back on track, and we want to make sure that we're using the flexibilities that we have as a moving to work agency, but we are following rules such that we don't get scary phone calls from anybody. It's our goal. Okay. So now I'm going to turn it back over to the HCV team to talk about a new program design. So when we relaunch, what that's going to look like. And just note that this can't happen, like we said, until we have reconciled our records and we get the budget authority. Okay.
So as Elizabeth was explaining, one of the things we want to do is we want to change the way we do this program as a whole. I don't think that having 52 partners and trying to manage without agreements with all of you is very helpful, nor is it's not a good way to communicate what we're doing or what's changing or things like that. So we want to break down some of the services that you provide. Some agencies provide programs that are self-sufficiency focused, which one of the things that Washington is really pushing for housing authorities to look at is self-sufficiency. How are we moving people off the program as opposed to keeping them in the program? So we're gonna split these things out. We also will always probably, of course, DC, pending DC's decisions, but we will always address the homelessness population in our community. And so one of the things that we would rather do moving forward is to work with the COC to provide those services. So anything that moving forward through our special referral project would go through the COC for homelessness services, and they will complete those referral services back to us so that it's our agreement with the COC and not these individual partners. So you're not looking through our MTW program, or you're not calling to try to find out how many vouchers you have left to use or things like that. We wanted to go through a partnership, and I think that that's important because I think that that creates an area where we can communicate better. I think in the past, maybe we haven't always communicated what needs to happen, or there might have been different information being communicated versus what the COC was saying versus what Housing Authority was saying. So we want to make sure that it's a clear and consistent voice. And so this is why we're choosing to go these routes. So we'll, when we get to this point, we will definitely move in a direction where we'll kind of separate out those self-sufficiency agencies and work with the point of contact with that group. And then the COC will be the point of contact for our homelessness programs. Also too, as you all know, like Elizabeth was explaining, we were doing the special referral vouchers, using those special referral vouchers for those project-specific agencies that had financing built into their building. They were building permanent supportive housing. Elizabeth and I both agree that permanent supportive housing is a necessary piece in our community. We have to have wraparound services for vouchers. Like we've stated before, LMHA does not have those supportive services in place, so we lean on our partners to be able to do those supportive services for our families while we provide the housing. So in the past, you know, we use just our MTW flexibilities to be able to do this. But the reality of it is that you need to have more control over these units. So in essence, we're looking for options to project base the current projects that we have if we can. We're researching and investigating. Melinda Breslin here, she's been contacting different areas and housing authorities to determine how we might be able to do that. We've also been in talks with HUD. How could we flip those units over to project base? Because the issue is, if they're tenant based, and while we put in our MTW plan that, you know, we can kind of restrict people to those units, you know, keeping those units and moving forward then takes away from your ability to be able to fill your unit should you choose to do that. So we want to make it more of a permanent situation, and we don't want you to be held to, you know, these numbers and not being able to fill your units, and it takes away from your financing. So we are looking for an avenue for that. We will contact those agencies if we're able to move forward with those project-based vouchers. In the future, all of our special referral projects, if there's a project on the horizon, we'll always move to a project-based model. We will not do the tenant-based model moving forward. And then also too, currently, with the families that are in these project-based models that are not project-based vouchers, what we're looking to do is to create a preference on our waiting list. So when people are leaving your building, your unit, that they get a preference on the wait list, so that when we pull from the wait list, they do come off the wait list and they are preferenced, and they can continue with using housing vouchers as needed. We don't want to put anybody out. You know, we don't want, you know, housing is our business. That is our business. That's what we're trying to do. We don't want to decrease our program. We would love to give everyone who needs a voucher, but we have to use our waiting list. We have multiple people. We have about 4,500 families just on our waiting list that don't even have a preference. So we will preference our permanent supportive housing agencies to help get those families through, because they are the most vulnerable. But that's what our plan is to move forward.
Thank you. So to recap, can you go back to the previous slide? Recap, going forward, when we are able to reopen things and let vouchers flow, everybody will have a pathway, one of these 4 pathways. So if you're serving clients that are homeless, you will go through the COC. If you are running a self-sufficiency program. And if you have questions about this, we'll keep talking. We'll keep doing individual meetings. If you're running a self-sufficiency program, we will have a program designed with our MTW flexibility to help do that. And those are usually time limited, or it's limited to, you complete our program and then you move on. That's a self-sufficiency program. For people that need vouchers to help finance preservation efforts or to help finance new construction, you will go through a project-based voucher process. And for everyone else, we will have appropriate preferences for our waiting list. So our waiting list has been closed since 2023. We will soon begin the process of going through those 4,500 people on the waiting list to make sure they should still be on the waiting list, so cleaning that up. And then we hope to reopen that waiting list, and we'll have the appropriate preferences. So if you meet a preference category such as homelessness or such as moving on from a rapid rehousing voucher or a special referral voucher, you will be appropriately preferenced in that waiting list. Okay. So I also I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't just make sure everybody in the room is aware of what's been proposed by the White House in Washington, D.C. This is a proposal. Remember, Congress makes the budget, not the White House. But what has been proposed from the White House is the worst proposal I've ever seen. It would be a 40% reduction in rental assistance and public housing. Though all of that, public housing and rental assistance, would be block granted to the states. So people keep asking me, well, what does it mean for Louisville? I don't know specifically for Louisville. I don't know if it's a straight 40% reduction or if it's more. Because if all of that goes to Frankfurt and then Frankfurt decides who within the state gets what, we could get more or we could get less. It proposes complete elimination of CDBG in home and drastic cuts to self-sufficiency programs, which I find particularly confusing when the messaging is self-sufficiency, time limits. There's a 2-year time limit proposed for able-bodied people on Section 8 and public housing. But then in the same document, they say that the Family Self-Sufficiency Program or Resident Opportunity for Self-Sufficiency grants are duplicative and not helpful. This would be very devastating if this proposal were to pass. I think it's not going to pass because people are going to push back and people are going to say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me show you how the Family Self-Sufficiency Program helps. Let me show you how Section 8 helps. Let me demonstrate for you the importance of these programs. The last time we saw something similar to this was in 2018. The president's proposed budget, actually the one from 2017, proposed similar things, not the block granting to states, but it proposed very similar levels of cuts. The housing community and people interested in housing programs linked arms and got loud. And then in 2018, we actually got a 15% increase to the HUD budget because Congress heard loud and clear how important these programs are. We also got a temporary increase in the low-income housing tax credit program. So that's what happens when we demonstrate how important these programs are. So I do not think that this is going to happen, but we are going to need to stop it from happening, is a kind of call to action that we all should have. So what is LMHA doing? We are working in close coordination and collaboration with a statewide coalition of housing groups and agencies. We have pitched an op-ed to the Courier Journal and the Herald Leader from myself, the head of the Lexington Housing Authority and the head of the Kentucky Housing Corporation, talking about how important these programs are to the state, to every single county. We are working with national trade groups that represent public housing authorities and other kind of housing agencies to make our voices heard. I am co-chairing a group of public housing leaders and financiers who are putting together not just what we need, what we have, but talking about what new resources do we need going forward. So we're not going to rest on our laurels and say, no, don't cut our Section 8. We're going to say, don't cut our Section 8, and we need this new tool because we've got really a lot of capital needs, for example. So we are, and we don't actually advocate, we educate. as a government agency, but we will be educating pretty hard and pretty loud.
You all are important to us because you all are going to help us tell our story. So the thing is like while we're cleaning up, what we're finding is what is the need. While we know there's a need because we're giving you vouchers, what we need on the back end is how these vouchers impact our community. So we will be reaching out to our community partners to talk about why these programs are so important and how we are changing our program and cleaning up our program to make sure that it's an impactful program for our community.
This was a lot of information. I really wish we had better news. I wish I was assembling, and maybe the day will come very soon where we can reassemble and say, switch back on, here's how to apply for vouchers for your clients. But for now, we really just wanted to be transparent with you where we are. We want to be transparent with you about why we're doing what we're doing, even if it's uncomfortable and at times probably infuriating, I'm sure. So let me stop there and let's take questions from you all. Put the mic.
I got a big mouth.
Great. Good for you.
I just like to say that even though we might didn't hear what we want to hear, but I appreciate the fact that we know what's going on. And it makes sense being on as, from everybody with this work and stuff. Sometimes we gotta go back and for our own mistakes, to go back and look at stuff that's pro and con. So just knowing that, be able to tell our this is what's going on. That meant a lot. So I appreciate you all having me. And that's just understandable.
Thank you. And as you know, I don't have a lot of clarity in terms of when we'll be able to move forward with these new programs, but what we can commit to is next steps of clear and honest communication. I'm always happy to meet. Camille's always happy to meet. We put out letters, we put out things in writing, but sometimes it's helpful to just come together, talk all of this stuff. Any other questions, comments? Probably a lot of concern.
So my question is, so the housing authority make commitments of project-based vouchers sometimes. Are you keeping those?
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
The question is, we made commitments to project-based vouchers several months ago. Are we keeping those commitments? And the answer is yes. So we have
built into our forecasting models how many of those commitments that we made when they're projected to come online, because you all lined up financing for that. So we are doing that, but we cannot, and this is in our MTW plan. It's always been in the plan, but I don't think we've ever had to do this before. And this is very much how the project-based voucher works, but for special referral vouchers that are project specific as well. Typically when you're in a unit with a voucher and you move from that unit, you sometimes have an option to take that voucher with you, and there's a voucher that stays with the unit. We cannot do that right now. It stays with the unit so that the building functions, but someone moving out, we do not have a voucher to give them. And that has always been the case from us and from HUD, but we haven't had to do that in a very long time.
When they leave now, go to the top of the waiting list.
Well, they'll have a preference.
Preference.
They'll have a preference.
I asked that question in particular because you have someone go through a programmatic piece and in project-based voucher, and now they're ready to buy a home. So how is there a way to convert to a voucher they used to purchase the home?
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. It's the person to me. I watch the program.
But then they have to go to so the time frame from moving to here to going to the top of the waiting list to being.
So that's a different path.
Okay.
To homeowner.
And I didn't mean to correct, no.
It's still a valid dollar. So it's not like you're given a new voucher per se, you're just taking the voucher that you have and it's switching to a growth.
Gotcha.
That's for homeownership. The issue is that the tenant-based program, so the project with tenant-based vouchers, that's where it gets sick, but technically, you can't restrict a person under a tenant-based voucher to stay for the year. And how we have it written right now, so we're kind of, they are changing, it's changing. But if they leave their place, they really have the option to take the voucher. But it doesn't give you another voucher. Place. So that's what we're trying to address, you know, with those tenant-based voucher programs. But those are different. They're just different the way they are.
And one thing to keep in mind, if you have a project-based voucher, yes, the rules state that a tenant can't take their tenant-based voucher after they can have a project-based for a year. However, regulations say that has to be tenant-based voucher on the table. So basically what the deal is saying is they would place it on the waiting list. If they request that, they would go on the waiting list for the next available voucher.
And I'm new to this, because I'm taking somewhere in the town, so I just got approved for my special voucher, so I've never went through the process before the policy. So my concern is, for me, I have 10 allocated special vouchers. Are you saying that those special vouchers that I did receive, I won't know if I have those until the clear up as far as you guys,
So Phoenix House is project specific or tenant based?
it's both. Yes, they have two triplexes and they have some.
Okay, so for the tenant based vouchers, which I think is the 10, you will not have those until the pause lets up.
Well, and then my other question is, we're moving, is on the self-sufficiency program, homeless. I have a variety, not so much coming from traditional homeless, but still self-sufficient in nature of our program. So as I'm looking at your model, trying to figure out how that fit, you know.
We'll reach out to, we're ready to do that, we'll reach out to our heart. To figure out what that, how much we have to give, but at that point, it's really hard out of our program. How to get down to the okay. We'll definitely reach out, we'll talk through.
And then, yes, in the
Family style, that includes a project based.
yes, that's a project specific special referral voucher. So we've, and I know we have some other folks from Family Scholar House in the room. We are looking to move what we can into a project-based voucher program. But we've also spoken with the Family Scholar House folks about the
Sufficiency pathway, because the model for Family Scholar House is a little bit different from some other people. The goal is when you graduate from the Family Scholar House program, when you graduate and move on, the hope is that you're self-sufficient, right? The hope is that you do not need a voucher to go with you. So how do we design a program with our MTW flexibility that meets the guidelines of the Family Scholar House program and still provides like a safety net for people who need a little transition period into the private market? So we're working on that for sure. Yes.
The timeline for the, like, unpause, is there a history that shows like when you get an announcement of what your budget is and that kind of stuff?
Yes, so the federal fiscal year ends at the end. Now we are funded at what is referred to as level funding through the end of September. But level funding from Section 8 is actually kind of a decrease because, as you know, rents go up and up and up. So when we get the budget numbers from Congress, we don't know what our particular allocation, when we get the nationwide pie, because HUD takes it back and has a formula that's based on how many vouchers did we have at this snapshot, and then they put in an inflation factor and a duration factor. And then we start to get letters from HUD about what does that mean for us in our program. But right now, we know what we have through the end of September. What's being proposed and negotiated now would start October 1st. History has shown that our country has not passed appropriations bills on time since like Bill Clinton was president. So what will likely happen at the end of September is we start to see continuing resolutions for a while or government shutdowns until they can kind of agree on some kind of spending package. So I'm not
quite sure, but what we will do is watch every step very carefully. So we've seen the skinny budget from the White House. Next step will be a full budget where they outline every single program in the federal agencies and how much they propose to put in there. The next step will be the House will release a budget number, which is what they're negotiating now. And then the budget is like how big the pie is. The appropriations committees will start carving it up. So then we'll learn how much does the transportation and housing and urban development piece add up to. And then that committee in the House will go through line by line and say, this is how much for CDBG, this is how much for home, this is how much for Section 8. The Senate will do the same thing, and those are always different. And then they have to reconcile those numbers and pass again through the House and the Senate the same number, and then the president signs. So this is what they have to do every single year, and they've never been on time since the 90s. But that's what's going to happen. So every time we see an appropriations draft bill or an appropriations proposal, we will analyze what would this mean. And what I predict is that the House will be less bad than the White House, but not as good as we want. The Senate will be the best version, so then we would want the Senate version.
Yeah, that's all the money that we get. So
I mean, like, it's not gonna prove it again until, I just need to make sure that, like, all people saying like, when are you gonna get a referral back? Like, I have to say, don't ask me again until January. Like,
that's a great answer. Don't ask them. Thank you for that. Actually, we're gonna use that too. Don't ask them to be honest.
There's also this, when you call Section 8 now, people are following the list, and clients keep hearing that there's number 0 on the list. And, well, that's what I don't know. And so then they think they're like up next. So I'm like, they don't have vouchers right now. You're not up next. They believe they're on the list and they believe they're 0. This has happened to about 4 or 5 clients.
Okay, this is excellent feedback. And John, you're in charge of the call center. Okay. So this is
They call a number and go down like so.
Thinking the reason why it's saying 0 is because they're not on.
So maybe let's say you're 0 who's not on the list.
Yeah.
They are coming up next. So they keep telling us I've got a voucher, it's coming. I can email them to you.
Really hard to we can check. Also, you know, we have a phone number that they basically just call in. So we can at least test it.
Okay.
To see if it's, you know, just telling everybody to do right, you know.
That's very helpful. And if you have this kind of feedback, like we call and this is happening, let us know, because then we know to adjust our reporting or our programming for working. I will say, when I started, I was getting calls from partners, from landlords, from the mayor's office, from every single council member, Congressman McGarvey, from the Redfield office. And everybody was like, I haven't been paid. I'm a landlord. I haven't been paid in 6 months, a year, or I've been calling Section 8 for 2 years and no one's picked up the phone. So those kinds of calls have really drastically declined, which I think is a great sign. But when we're hearing that, like, we're still calling, no one's answering, or we're having to wait for a long time, or I'm getting this answer that doesn't seem right, or I got this answer that doesn't seem right, that is very helpful for us to know. So any other questions?
So in cases where you feel like, what I'm going to say that ours is out, termination value. They are sending out letters. I don't know if their vouchers have been terminated. Because technically vouchers are only good for 120 days.
We've allowed people to have them for years and they not lease up. We have to clean that up. So we have to have a cutoff. But if you feel that your client had a voucher and they got a letter to say that it was terminated, but you feel that there was a valid reason why they should have not gotten their voucher terminated. It could have been because they were hospitalized and no one knew, or they had just got out of rehab or just finished whatever. Please contact us because we want to work and make sure that that person gets housed because the voucher's already out there. We just need to make sure that we, lease them up properly. Or even if they've put in a request for tenancy approval and nothing ever came back, or they failed a unit and who knows what happens, but just, we expect for you to advocate for your participants. And so please feel free to reach out to us with that name to say, hey, this person was issued a voucher before the pause. They've struggled to find housing or get housing. Is there any way we can keep this open a little longer? And we'll let you know. Now, I will tell you, we can't extend them forever. We cannot. We have to be able to shut it off at some point. So if they've already had the voucher for almost a year, we're going to say, if they don't have a place by next week that we can get into, I'm going to have to close out the voucher because we have to clean it up. That's the only thing, that's the only thing we can do. So we've put out communications for Jonathan Coulter, Melinda Brazelin. Before it was Sherry Rogers. Her emails still come through. So even if you accidentally emailed her, they still come through to Melinda or myself. So just reach out to us to say, hey, I need help. Preferably, I would like for you to send your email to Melinda. She is the director over the Special Vouchers Program, and she will. Oh, it's Breslin. It's BRESLIN at LMHA1.org.
The best way for us, honestly, to communicate with our clients is probably
which is where we are in the world. But if you follow us on social media, we do put out a good amount of information on there. And Jalen, who's in the back, who's our wonderful public information officer, is staffing all of those channels. So worst case scenario, you can't get a hold of Melinda for some reason, which I've never experienced, but if you're not able to get a hold of BRESLIN at LMHA1.org, you can put a message in through one of our social media channels, and Jalen will then get that to the right person. So if all else fails, go to Facebook. Introduce you. And that's Jalen.
Oh, the public housing. Okay. Yeah, so we're talking today about our voucher program. We also have a public housing system, which are the units that we own and operate in 36 developments throughout Jefferson County. So I don't know why she was. Oh yeah, so that. Yeah. But we do have units right now. If you have clients that want to move into Park Hill, we can move you in today. Yes.
Our 1-bedroom waiting list for public housing, 1 and 2 bedroom waiting list for public housing is closed because of the Dosker Manor relocation. So we are holding all of our 1 bedrooms offline for Dosker relocatees. We will finish that in a few months and then we can reopen that waiting list. But we've relocated about half of the Dosker Manor residents, and that process should honestly start to speed up a little bit now that we have project voucher developments coming online. Dosker residents have a preference for
those units. So once that's why we held that offline. The next, so we should hopefully be able to demolish that First Link grocery store, which is across the street from Dosker Manor, sometime this calendar year, and then start building new housing there. And then once everybody's out of Dosker, we have lined up some financing. We need to line up more to demolish that property and start to rebuild. So things will get better. Like, we will have new beautiful units coming online. We have the Iroquois Senior Homes development that will come online, I think, next year and start leasing up in the Hazelwood neighborhood. We are hoping to build more new construction there on the old site of Iroquois Homes. And then Avenue Plaza, which is 8th and Muhammad Ali, where our headquarters used to be located or will be located for the next 2 weeks. That is 285 units that we will significantly rehab without relocating those folks to other buildings. We're going to do a tenant-in-place rehab, so we don't have to do another relocation there. We will also start imminently a planning process for Park Hill, because it's a real problem that I can tell people who are homeless, I have a unit for you today at Park Hill, and they're like, no, thanks. I'd rather stay homeless. That is not okay. So we are starting the planning process there, and people keep asking, when are you going to tear Park Hill down? I don't know if we're tearing Park Hill down. We got to figure out what's going on with the buildings. Can we preserve some of those buildings or all of those buildings? Do we need to tear them down? What's the highest and best use of housing on that property? So we're on the actual housing side that we own and operate. We are doing a lot, and we should hopefully start to see that come online soon. I don't want to own any properties where people are like, no, no thanks. I'd rather be homeless. That's our goal. That's our goal. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you. Oh, yes, one in the back.
We have a wealth of people spread. At the end, who wants to introduce themselves? Maybe we can head back.
We had scheduled this meeting for a lot longer, and I talked a lot faster than I thought. How would you all feel if we pass around the microphone and everybody introduces your name and your agency? How would that? No, I'd love to do that. Yes, if you got and would you all feel comfortable? We will send out these slides, and we can also send out the sign-in sheet so you can see who was here. So we can do that. But if you're able to stay, if you gotta go, you gotta go. If you're, I'm sorry. Where is this?
Yeah, they checked it. They checked it. They checked it.
We'll send the RSVP list. We can send the RSVP list and we'll send this, but let's go around if you're able to stay. And if you gotta go, you gotta go. No hard feelings. But if you're able to stay, this is really great. And we've actually had other bad news meetings with partners who were able to make connections and help each other through. So that's a great, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tiffany Starr, and I'm the founder and executive director of English House. English House is a single cancer. It's in honor of my cousin, Inga Della, 43, from breast cancer from the metastasis. And what our doors are, we're doing resource coordinating right now until the vouchers. However, it's on pause, but then it will still go on. But the women will come into the house while they come going through their radiation, whatever treatment plan on, and they will have their own residential suite, along with receiving RN case management, counseling, education, and fellowship. So, because I feel that no woman should be alone while going through breast cancer or any type of cancer.
Hi, most of you guys, well, maybe not. I'm Marilyn Harris. I used to be the director of the Office of Housing and Community Development for the city. I retired, and I'm now back as the Senior Housing Policy Advisor. It was just so much fun, I couldn't stay away. And so I'm all things housing for the city of Louisville. So my email is marilyn.harris@louisvilleky.gov. And if I don't know the answer, I know so many of you in this room, I can probably find an answer for you. So please feel free to reach out.
And I'm Kevin Dunlap. I'm the president of an organization called Rebound, Inc. Rebound is a nonprofit housing development corporation here in the city that was created by the Louisville Urban League back in 1993. And Rebound is an acronym. It stands for Rebuilding Our Urban Neighborhood Dwellings.
Well, I'm short and gonna hit up the table. I'm Andrea Mayberry. I'm with Seven County Services. It took me longer to stand up than what it did for me to introduce myself.
Hello, I'm Maria Kemplin, and I work for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, and I am the program administrator of a 5-year SAMHSA grant. It's 5 years, $5 million, and it's creating a pilot site here in Louisville metro area to connect unsheltered individuals with comprehensive services. And 7 counties is our contract partner on that project.
Pass the mic. My name is Sandra Marshall King, and I'm the founder and CEO of My Chosen People. And we work with women with substance abuse disorder, and we also work with the community. And one of the things that we come to find out when we actually start doing the housing is that we try to teach our clients that you have to have housing, but the voucher is not going to save you. So we make sure that they have financial literacy classes, because you need to know how to manage your finances, because that's the reason why you got in this predicament in the first place. And then we also work with them around their mental health. So we do classes on depression, anxiety, grief, trauma. We also do parenting classes, just whatever we can do to help them to be sustainable. So when they move and transition to that next step, that they'll be ready for it. But we're trying to teach them that you have to work on your credit, because even though you got a voucher, some of these places, if you don't have a good credit score, you can't get in. So just trying to break barriers. So that's pretty much what we do. We're located at the Neal Center on the ground floor, in the West End, 2900 West Broadway.
Good morning. I'm Christy Flippins Bartlett, founder, CEO of Option to Success, and we have a range of services that we do. We do residential for teenage girls. That's the ward of the state from 12 to 21. We also have a pilot program that we're running for mop-in housing of homeless mothers that we have wraparound services. We actually do as far as mental health, case management, and different services to the youth and families and women.
I'm Shanaz Burrell. Everybody calls me Nas. I work for Louisville Metro, formerly known as Office of Resilience and Community Services. We're now Office of Social Services, but I'm a senior social worker in the Housing and Support Department.
I'm Robin Harrod. I am the day shelter manager at St. John Center. So we just work with unhoused folks that identify as men. And we do a range of services from IDs and birth certificates to housing navigation with Nikki and Anna.
I'm Nikki, and I do the housing navigation for the shelter at St. John Center.
Hey, I'm Anna. I do the same thing, also housing navigation.
Brendan Livers. I'm the housing navigator for the outreach team at the St. John Center, and we're able to work with women as well as men.
I'm Kathy Dobbins, and I'm the director of Wellspring. We primarily serve adults with serious mental illness, many of whom are coming from homelessness. We have 150 units, some of which are project-based. And my mic went out, so I think that's my cue. I'll pass the mic.
My name is Anna Terry, and I am the manager of coordinated entry at the Coalition for the Homeless.
I am Tamara Rife, Senior Director of Housing for Volunteers of America. So I do all housing things, shelter. We have several units coming online for affordable housing, permanent supportive housing. Volunteers of America is doing the community care campus, so we've got 5 buildings happening over there. So lots of things happening with VOA.
Good morning. I'm Carrie Addison, and I work at Phoenix Health Center. I lead the Common Assessment team. So we do outreach to shelters and people living on the street to help prioritize and coordinate referrals to housing within the COC, so primarily permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing.
I'm Tiny Heron. I am the Director of Housing at the Arthur Street Hotel. The Arthur Street Hotel has been in operation for almost 3 years now. It's something new that has been brought to Louisville. My background is in street outreach here in Louisville. And so for many years, we would be engaging with individuals on the street that had been assigned a voucher, but never knew they had a voucher. And so they lost their voucher and they're still living underneath the viaduct. So that's kind of how our program got started. So we work with all agencies in the city for individuals that are moving into housing. We also have a little bit of programming around CURP funding for individuals that are houseless and living with HIV. To get them to a level of being undetectable so they have somewhere safe to sleep and rest and take their medicine and get to their doctor's appointments. So we kind of provide I have to be careful with language, but transitional housing, that in between stage from the streets into permanent supportive housing. We do not do families at the hotel. We at the hotel have a caseload of individuals that have been put out from every other option in our city. They've either fell out of other housing programs or they've not been allowed into shelter. So the majority, probably 98% of my census is in active addiction and struggle with mental illness, so lots of co-occurring. So my staff is rock stars. This is Latina War, and she is our team lead for our case management and housing team.
Hi, I'm Brooke Crum, and I work with Mattingly Edge, and we serve folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Taking the chair with me. My name is Kiara James, and I am the founder and executive director of an organization called Pushing Forward, and we help individuals navigate new injuries after being paralyzed from a traumatic spinal cord injury. So all wheelchair users, we usually try to help them navigate housing, also just different support services and healthcare, all the things.
Hi, I'm Sarah Galloway. I'm Chief Policy Officer at the Housing Authority. I have interacted with all of your organizations over the years. I'm the one you emailed to get your vouchers. And we'll be working actively on flexibilities as we hopefully are able to move this program forward at some point.
Hello, I'm Kate Brackett. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Family Scholar House. We serve student parents who are pursuing post-secondary education and young adults who have experience with states care that do not necessarily have dependents. We have 5 campuses here in Louisville, and our next campus is coming on board in Sellersburg at the Ivy Tech campus.
Good morning. My name is Terry Watkins. I work for 7 counties, and I manage the target case management group over our 4 adult sites.
Hi, my name is Nick Murphy, and I'm the Director of Housing for Wellspring, and Kathy said everything I would have said.
My name is Mohammed Kero. I'm the resettlement manager at Catholic Charity, so I work with refugees and immigrants.
Same.
Excellent.
Hi, I'm Dolores Johnson, Director of Clinical Services at House of Ruth. We work with individuals infected and affected by HIV/AIDS, and we provide housing, support services, food pantry, and other financial assistance.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sherry Churchill, and I'm the founder and executive director of Churchill's Lighthouse, formerly known as Churchill's House of Hope. We received a house 2 years ago, donated to us for the women, and we just received a donation to renovate the house. So our house will be opening hopefully in September. Praise God. We've been waiting since 2017. It's been a long wait, and we are excited and can't wait to help the women. It's for pregnant women and teens that have found themselves in an unplanned pregnancy, and we are here to just help them be the hands and feet of Jesus.
I'm sorry for making everyone do this, but not really, because I need to talk to you. And but I'm Tori Spiller. I work for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, DCBS, and I am an independent living specialist. And Stacy and I work with youth aging out of foster care.
Stacy McKay. Work directly with older and aged out of care foster youth, and we are placed throughout the state. So we work with all youth across the state of Kentucky.
I'm Ayla Espinosa with Boys and Girls Haven. We have a grant-funded program that works with homeless youth ages 18 to 24. And we work with life skills, self-sufficiency, and we also work with recommitted foster care youth ages 18 to 21 who've chosen to recommit to state's care. So we have transitional housing through that, which is through the cabinet. Yes, thank you.
I'm so moved to be in such a room full of impressive people. My name is Sherry Hawkins. I'm from the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Housing for Homeless Veterans Program, specifically HUD-VASH. And Dr. Addison and myself run the HUD-VASH program. The section that I manage is the maintaining housing part of our program. We also have an obtaining housing program, as well as a GPD transitional housing outreach. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
She said everything I would have said. Dr. Addison, nice to be in a room with so many people that are doing so many great things for our community. Thank you all.
Hi, I'm Catherine Fant with Joshua Community Connectors, a nonprofit, small nonprofit, but we do help with gun violence victims and recovery victims, one family at a time.
Hi, I'm Julie Paget. I am the Operations and Program Director for Up for Women and Children. And we are new to the housing arena, but we are glad to be in this with everyone here. We do offer the day shelter, and we have a summer family enrichment program. And we are excited to really work on that self-sufficiency piece and partner with many of the organizations in the community that already have financial consulting, and we are excited to be helping people with housing. So thank you for this meeting.
I'm Sam Sharp. I work over at the Spot for young adults. So we serve 16 to 24-year-olds. I work with Ellen on YHDP, and I also manage our JCPS and OID grants.
I'm Aaron Watts, and I work with Housing Career Coach at the Spot with the YHDP program, which is the Youth Homeless Demonstration Program for 18 to 24-year-olds.
Thank you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all of the work you do. That was a great idea, just so we all know who we are and who we're working with. So we will send out to all of you and some of our colleagues who RSVP'd but were unable to make it, we will send this slide and we will send the RSVP list. So you have everybody's name, organization, and contact information. Let's keep this conversation going. But we are going to have to keep the conversation going out in the lobby here because we do need to get out of this room. Thank you all so much for coming.